I'm really curious in your thought on this. So when we think of GOAT as athletes, greatest of all time, I have an answer in my head that is undisputedly the answer.
Okay.
And I'd love to hear who your answer is.
Okay. Who do I think the GOAT is?
Mm-hmm.
LL Cool J. LL Cool J was the one that coined the term the GOAT, greatest of all time.
Okay. That's who
So,
coined it. Who do you think?
I'll just say this. First of all, I hate that I got to watch Jonah Hill's dumbass get up there and talk about how Meryl Streep's the GOAT, and all these people have basically just taken it because there can only be one GOAT. And I think
Correct.
Michael Jordan would be probably the greatest of all time in terms of athleticism. But I think the only person that rivals Michael's competition, success, and achievement would probably be Tom Brady. I think they're really the only two people in the conversation. There's no LeBron James in the conversation. There's no anybody else. I think when you're talking about probably the greatest sports figure of all time, I would say it's probably Michael Jordan. And the only other person in that conversation is probably Tom Brady.
Yeah, I agree. And then I always caveat that with who do you think the greatest athlete of all time is? Because those are different questions.
Yeah. But the term athlete is really fascinating because there's a competition. Like I've seen some guys that were very athletic, but when you think about athlete, because Tom Brady is not extremely athletic by any means.
Correct.
But his ability to win and understand the game plan and use his mind in this. I mean, I would say probably the greatest basketball player. Now, this is going to blow your mind. Is probably Larry Bird.
Okay.
I think Larry Bird is probably the greatest basketball player to ever play in the NBA. But when you talk about who the greatest of all time is, it's Jordan, for the mere fact that he won more games, he won championships, he dominated, he ruled that thing, and his ability to play at such a high level for as long as he did, for as well as he did, and pull people around him is better than anybody else. But I think, I mean, honestly, like if you go back and watch the clips, Bird is unbelievable. He's probably the best shit talker. I mean, one time he went into a game, he said, I'm only going to shoot from my left hand, and he still had 40 points. I mean, he was so good and so dominant that when you hear the other players that played against him, they were like, Larry's incredible. But I think when you get into that conversation, the greatest of all time, it's really, it's your CV. It's what you've done. I mean, when you look at what Jordan did over the course of that, I mean, the only kind of black spot would be he gets in trouble for gambling, and they basically suspended him for a year, so he had to go and play baseball. And that's why that weird retirement where all of a sudden he went and played baseball. He didn't go play baseball. He got suspended because for gambling. I mean, yeah. That's pretty well established, and he kind of has that weird black mark. But he was the type of dude where they were like going to bet on everything and anything. He was so competitive, and he played at such a high level. So I think he's in. Yeah, I think it's Jordan, and the only other person in that conversation is Tom Brady.
So I'm a huge Tom Brady fan, and man, if Tom Brady watches this, out of just sheer dumb luck.
So I went to school. I know Tom. Obviously I played with him, but I knew him socially too. And but also I went to school with his sister at Berkeley, so I knew his sister and I knew Tom. So yeah, he's when I was there was when Tom was with Giselle, and they were always very cordial and very nice and very friendly, and she was very nice. So I have nothing but nice things to say about them. And it was sad to see that they get to the very end and after the end of his career and this, and ended up not being able to continue to stay married. But I think as people age and they get in, they want different things. But I'm always sad whenever I see people that have married and had a family and this, and then all of a sudden it ends for whatever reason. That's not something to for as many jokes and as bad stuff. I'm like, God, leave those people alone. So I don't know, but I mean, that's a news cycle.
Yeah, you wish everyone well, right?
Yeah.
And man, so you're telling me there's a chance that he could see this?
Well, I think there's a chance that anybody could see anything. I mean, there's
That's cool.
yeah. I mean, that's the weird thing with the algorithms. You never know what's going to get pumped to people. So,
That would be amazing. So, Tom, if you're seeing this, I'm a huge fan. Um,
go Pats.
anyway, go Pats. Go Buccaneers. And by the way, I went to Tom's last game when he not last game, but when he I went out to San Clemente and watched him play the Niners when it was Brock Purdy's first start.
Oh, nice. Very
So
cool.
it
Very cool.
it was an amazing game, and I caught a call on the sideline from Chris Godwin
Nice.
before the game, and ended up giving it to some little kid right next to me that was wearing a Bucks setup, and it was a really rad story. But so as we get to the wrap of this, man, this has been a just absolute pleasure,
Oh,
John,
thank you.
and you're such a cool dude. We could chop this up all day. Um, and I'm thrilled that you took time out of your day to be a part of Leaders Lead. I want to talk a little bit about what you mentioned a little bit in the opening, but hey, John, I want to talk a little bit about your relationship and some of the activities that you've done with your business and your organization on how you support the military communities in the greater military veteran organization and broad. Can you just kind of share a little bit about some of the things that you do and kind of the ecosystem that you create around it?
Yeah, we were, because of CrossFit, there was a lot of early adopters in the military, and then also just through my relationship with CrossFit and actually working with, Andy Stump and Dave Castro and some of those SEALs early on. Dave Brewer, another one, ended up, forming a pretty good relationship with Naval Special Warfare, which ended up leading to working with the SEAL teams and development group and a lot of these guys. So, and then since those guys have since gotten out, and Doc Parsley, who's the medical advisor for a bunch of the SEAL foundations, is a training partner and local friend of mine. So any of the stuff that he does, obviously we end up kind of working in parallel with him. So it's been really rewarding just because that community has been so important and just influential and just very welcoming for us. There was a lot of similarities for the SEALs and actually professional football players. Both kind of very similar personalities and kind of type A type stuff. So and then we did a ton of contracting with the 18th Airborne Corps, and we're actually in contracting. We were in contracting to implement Power Athlete systems across 90,000 troops. And we were going to be the first civilian contractor to take over the training, the PT of the big Army. And that program, which was spurred a lot of things, ended up dying in contracting when General LaCamera, who was the 4-star that brought us in, ended up taking a new job at PACCOM. So that we missed an incredible opportunity to go in and really just influence the U.S. military in a positive way. And it's that's one of those like ones I wish I could have gotten, we could have nailed, because I really think if there's any organization that needed a change and a change in culture that we could have done very positive for, it would have been the U.S. Army. So but you have to remember the military, especially on that side of the house, for like the big Army, big Navy, is like a corporation. When you get on the kind of the special operations side, like the SEALs and Delta and MARSOC and whatnot, those guys are very strategic. They're like professional athletes. There's a very specific task that they're trained for. So those guys have been very good for us. But the other one we do is we have a cancer charity that we've run for over a decade called Wade's Army, where we raise money for pediatric cancer, more specifically neuroblastoma. And we started that in 2012, and that's been going strong. So we raised a ton of money. We end up doing an auction truck every year. So, or last year we auctioned off a Blazer. This year we're going to auction off another Blazer. We did a C10, and so we'll do some fun stuff with that. But really just trying to help raise money for cancer and really just help fight a really awful thing that ends up striking little kids and big killer kids under the age of 6. So. But yeah, cancer is an ugly thing. I'm sure there isn't anybody that I've ever spoken to that cancer hasn't touched them in some way, whether it be through a family member or a friend or whatever. So hoping to fight that a little bit. But yeah, one of the tenets and really just one of the pillars for Power Athlete has always been about, giving back in service and mentorship and just, being able to, hopefully, right some wrongs when you see them. And, like the analogy I give is, if you're driving and you see somebody broken down in the middle of the road, park your car, put on the flashers and get out, push them out of traffic. And there's been numerous times where I pulled up on somebody stuck in their car that died, pulling behind them, always knock on the window, how you doing? And they're, frazzled because people are honking, giving them the finger, yelling. I'll be like, put the car in neutral, take your foot off the brake, I'll push. And they always ask, and I'm like, you steer, I'll push. And I've pushed many people out of traffic to safety, just for the mere fact, because that's what you do. I mean, that's why you train, it's why you lift weights, so that you can do these things. And that analogy of pushing people out of traffic, I think, really translates over to a lot of the initiatives we do, where if like somebody's car is stuck and you got to push, fucking be able and bodied to push and understand how to push. So that's kind of one of the analogies I like to give for the cancer charity or what we do with the military or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like you sees people broken down, don't be afraid to get out of the car. Don't be the person that just lays on the horn and gives them the finger, because that's what fucking everybody does, and that doesn't help us. It doesn't get us where we need to go as a country, as a nation, or as a people.
Yep. I completely agree with you. Hey, John, this leads me to my favorite part of this podcast. And it's, what can we do to help you? How can this platform lift you up? How can we support you? How can we spread the word about what you're doing and your mission?
Just go check out powerathletehq.com. We do training programs and nutrition. There's podcasts. So if you guys are interested in supporting the brand or learning more, just go to Power Athlete HQ. It's all out there. Power Athlete Inc. is our social media. Our Power Athlete HQ social media got taken down. We had a bunch of reef posts, things we call Be the Hammer, which were a bunch of funny videos that we ended up getting nailed on copyright infringement, so they canceled us. But for the most part, one of the biggest ones that we've seen is really when people get into our methodology and our coaching and become Power Athlete certified coaches, just that information really allows them to, not only become best versions of themselves, but also influence and train athletes and do it in a positive way. So that's the only thing I ask, is just people go check out the information. If it looks good, enter into our ecosystem and see how we can help you and how we can serve you.
That's awesome. Hey, everybody. You heard it here from John Welbourn. He is an absolute professional. He's training the military elite. He has been in the trenches, on the battlefield, on the football fields. He is taking it to the next level. He's spreading the word of how to live your best life. It's an absolute honor, John, to have you here on Leaders Lead Podcast. Thanks for chopping it up with me today. I learned a new thing to say, chop it up. And
nice.
I mean, when you look at these guns, next time I have you here,
Let's
my biceps will be more defined than your triceps. That's the goal. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. John, thanks for being here. I appreciate y'all. Leaders Lead, tuning out. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you.